Well, good evening to everyone. Glad to have you here as we have yet another chaplaincy meeting. We've still got some folks signing in here. And Ted, you ready to lead us on? Let me unmute you.
I got it here. Thank you. I'm sorry. I'm supposed to know how to drive the thing by now. My grandson's tried to teach me as best he can. But I do appreciate all the background work you do and upfront work and trying to put all this together. And welcome everyone. I hope you, like me, are sharing the growing excitement about the opportunity that's coming at us. Some of you have, like me, have a couple of the opportunities in front of you yet with summer camp, chaplaincy, and some things like that. But all that will pale in comparison to the opportunities that we will have as we come to the Jamboree. And so as we begin tonight, let me just make a sad announcement that we made. Some of you may already know about. Some of you have served before with us with Paul Gregor. Paul was the registrar at the New Orleans Baptist Theological Seminary and was scheduled to serve with us this summer. In fact, serve as the supervisor for those who needed a proctor for a practicum credit for seminary. A couple of our young folks. Paul somewhat suddenly passed away last week. We were sad to hear that. We will miss Paul. Some of you knew him. And so as we get ready to go into this and begin this meeting, we certainly want to lift his family up, as I know they are still struggling with that, because again, it was a fairly quick onset with some cancer issues and trying to yet determine from everyone, you know, all the details around, not that they're important. We just know that their grief is there. And so we just want to lift those up as we begin our meeting tonight with prayer. Ted,
as we do, let's also lift up Brenda Hanson Smith. Brenda is was going to be one of our adjunct chaplains. She's served for several jamborees across decades on medical team, and she, unfortunately, her osteoporosis has developed to the point that she has been told by her doctor that Jamboree is just not in her future. And so we want to remember her in our prayers as well.
Yeah, that was another sad loss. Another one for whom emotionally, like John Hanson, just really hit her hard that she was not going to be able to join us. And just a wonderful lady who I'd just been able to meet just a couple of months ago. But heartbreaks for her. Of course, some of you know John Hanson's not able to serve with us because of health issues. But he had he knew that early on, and so we had him not scheduled for that. And so, but we have lots of opportunities as we look ahead and get ready for that. Jeff Thompson, if you'll settle down there with Doug, could I call on you to lead us in an opening prayer as we remember these in our meeting tonight? You'll have to unmute, Jeff.
All right.
There we
go. Lord, we do remember those who, because of illness, and especially the families or who have lost loved ones. We pray for those and that were part of our chaplain staff. We pray for our meeting tonight, Lord. We just ask that you would give us direction and guidance, that we are moving more quickly, it seems like, to July. And we also stop and remember all those who were so impacted by yesterday's and today's tornadoes in Mississippi and Georgia.
Yes.
Lord, a lot of things are going on. Help us know that even though we focus on the Jamboree, that you call us to serve in many different ways. Help us be open to you leading us. Be with Ted as he leads us tonight. In Jesus' name, amen.
Amen.
Amen. Thank you for that, Jeff. We appreciate that so much. So much. As we begin tonight, I wonder if we have anyone on tonight who is not able to be with us last time, who would like to kind of just give us a quick hello with a name, a location, and your faith background. Do we have some on here? I'm sure we've got some that are. All right, Keith, go ahead. You start out.
Yeah, I'm Keith Hudson. I'm co-pastor with my wife at a small church in La Grande, Oregon. I'm in Eastern Oregon, PCUSA. We've been here almost 14 years.
Very good. Thank you. And I see Andrew has his hand up. I guess that's what that notation is. Oh, no, that was my cursor. I'm sorry. Sitting over his picture. I don't have it all solved. Go ahead, Tim Baker.
Hey, I'll hop on right after Keith. I'm around the corner from him in Salem, Oregon, several hundred miles, but still in the same state. I'm a pastor at a Baptist church and serve as a chaplain in our district and with our unit.
Very good. Anyone else want to?
Yep.
Yeah, go ahead, Tommy. I see your hand first. Tommy, you're muted.
Yep.
Go ahead now. Okay.
Now I am. Okay. Tommy Watts. I'm in Delaware, Delmarva Council. I am part of the National Catholic Committee on Scouting. I am a deacon for the Catholic Church in Delaware. And currently, right now, since I left my full-time job, I am the pastoral associate for my parish. That's it.
Very good. All right. MJ, you'll unmute. Go ahead.
Yes, my name is Mark Ellison. I grew up in Virginia, live in Utah. I'm a member of the Church of Jesus Christ of Latter-day Saints. And my father has served for chaplaincy several years before he passed away a couple of years ago, but he was there in 2005 when the tragedy happened with the Alaska troop and the electrocution. He was there to comfort the scout troop. And I was there serving in the archery range for the Western region. And then he went on to serve at the World Jamboree 2007 as a chaplain. And so throughout the AP Hill history of the Scout Jamboree, he was there serving in the chaplaincy.
Very good. All right. Anyone else with a quick word?
Aaron.
Go ahead, Aaron.
Yeah. Hi, everyone. I'm Aaron Stockwell-Wiseman. I am a Unitarian Universalist minister. Been serving a congregation here in Framingham, Massachusetts since, August of 2020. Been ordained for about 8 years now.
Very good. Thank you. Scenic, it's great to see you on here. Scenic, give us a word.
I'm Scenic Serrera. So I just moved to a new location at St. Andrew, Daly City, California, as a pastor. So I was at the 2017 Jamboree and then 2019 World Jamboree. So
Very good. We met each other out at Philmont. Made good friendship.
Philmont, yeah, I was at Philmont too, yeah.
Yeah.
The chaplaincy conference. Okay, thank you.
Very good. You're welcome. Anyone else?
I probably should.
All right, go ahead, Don.
Yeah, nobody really knows me. This will be my fourth Jamboree. I went twice as a youth, once as a scoutmaster in 1997. I'm in southern Utah, and I'm a professor of marketing at Utah Tech University. I'm excited to be here. I am also of the LDS faith here in Utah, and good to get to know everyone and work with you.
All right. Well, good. Well, we'll move ahead. But one of the reasons I want to do a sampling of introductions, I want everybody to get a feel that we're going to be a very diverse group. We're from all over parts of the country, from various faith groups, various levels of experience. And I want us to make sure we leverage that together for the strength of our chaplaincy ministry. Know that there are others around you who can be a resource to you as we serve in our various subcamps and the various things that we do. And so that we can leverage that so that we can provide the best ministry we can. I will point out to those, particularly the LDS faith group, if you have not heard that Adair has been designated, Adair Petty. Wave at us, Adair. They'll see you. There you go. Has been designated as kind of the lead chaplain, if you will, for the LDS issues. And so, if you're not of that faith group, but you bump into an issue that you think you need some help with that, or otherwise, know that Adair is a kind of an extra resource in that way, as will be any LDS chaplains you have in your subcamp. But he's also kind of helped with coordinating that group, because we have several from that group that we appreciate them filling in so good, as well as the Baptists and Methodists. But some of you are kind of you're you're out there by yourself in your faith group, except that know that we all will stand beside each of you as we minister and as we serve. With that, I would like to go to let Alan talk to us about, we talked last time about some attire, some things that we might wear or have to kind of designate us that we're part of the chaplaincy ministry, so that we need to be a little bit distinctive from the operations group. I mean, we serve with the operations group, although technically we're part of the program group, but we're out there living within the subcamps. But we're one of the few folks that any youth, any staff person, any adult leader should feel free to walk up to and say, hey, I see, are you part of chaplaincy? Well, yeah, well, you know, can I share something with you? You know, but that's what we're there for. And that's different than your commissioners are there in your subcamps, but that's for the adult leaders to get with for logistical issues, or troop quartermasters to get with. You know, other folks are there in the subcamp, but typically most of their contact is with adult leadership for various issues. But we're one of the few services that are really out there for everyone, and particularly for those young people. So we need identification for that purpose. So Alan, let me quit rambling around here and turn it over to you and talk about that a little bit. All
right. Yeah, so as you've already heard us say, you are not required to buy any shirts. If you want to, there are links on the SharePoint site that will take you to the website to be able to buy a shirt as a part of the program group or as a part of the operations group, whatever your pleasure may be that way. There may be some denominations that may have something going on through their denomination, but those are beyond us. Also, we are working on chaplaincy branded items. They'll be offered through SG Trading Post. Hope to have that site operational this week, and we'll get that link out to you as soon as we can do that. We will have 3.5-inch patches. We are going to give you each 4 of those patches, but if you want to buy additional patches, you'd be able to buy those on that website. We're also going to give you 1 6-inch back patch. There will also be the availability of those to buy additional. We'll give you 1 neckerchief. If you want to buy a second neckerchief or neckerchief to trade or whatever, you know, because we know some of you do that, you can again be able to buy those through our website. The hat, we are not going to be in a position to give you one, but we'll have 2 different hat options. Both of them will be white hats with the chaplain branding on them. One is a baseball cap. The other is a wide brim hat. Some of you have expressed interest in something that'll cover your ears or give you a little more neck coverage. So we'll have both those options available. Yeah, we're kind of moving in the direction I'm seeing this in much of the communication to staff and other parts of the operation as well, to a model that is more akin to the World Jamboree, the way they do it, in which is neckerchiefs is the biggest form of identification. I think you'll see that even among the contingents that there'll be less clothing similarities on all the contingents in the same ways that some of us are used to seeing in past jamborees. And part of that is part of the DEI movement to try to make sure that we are not pricing people out of scouting in ways that's not appropriate and not helpful, so that everybody has a chance to do these kind of adventures as much as possible. So all those items we'll have available for sale. When I send you that link, I'll also remind you of what items we're going to provide to you. And that way you can decide what purchases you want to make beyond that. I will mention to you on the SharePoint site, if you're having problems, get on it. Talk to me, send me an email, let me know. Let me help you walk through it. I did divide the links into 2 categories, a merchandise set of links and an information set of links. One that I added to it today is one of the councils out in excuse me, in California is now offering rockers to go around the Jamboree patch. One for contingent operations. Well, actually, it's one for contingent, one for operations. Then one that you can buy a rocker that says what area of the camp you're located in, another one that says what job, and yes, they do have chaplain on that. On that one, it's only chaplain that's available. On the operations group, it's chaplain or chaplaincy team. And on our branding, it will be chaplaincy team.
Very good. Thank you, Alan, for that. Any questions about the merchandise stuff? I will point out that, again, our key distinctive colors, a white hat, but particularly the purple neckerchief, kind of a traditional purple and white theme there for chaplaincy. I'll take a question in just a second, but let me remind you that the official Jamboree patch, the logo that you see behind Alan's head there in his background screen, goes above your right pocket, and then leave space between that right pocket and your pocket flap for a name tag if you wish to purchase a name tag. And yes, National Supply will sell you a Jamboree name tag, and you can have your name put on it and chaplaincy team or whatever you want to have put on there. But then if you wish to sew the chaplaincy patch for our chaplaincy team on there, it's going to look very similar. You'll see that when we get to the site, but it is more of it probably would be close enough to fit up there also, and might not be totally legal, but this is intended for the official Jamboree patch. But then you'd have also an opportunity for a pocket patch there on your right pocket. I've struggled this afternoon with, I know some of you would like to maybe have those ahead of time to sew on. But the ones that we're going to give you, we don't really have a good way to get them to you ahead of time. If you order an extra, you'd have one ahead of time to do the sewing, but in my case, I'll bring my needle and thread and do what I'm going to do with it. But Adair, you had a question about
yeah, just the color of the neckerchief. Is it purple or is it white?
It is purple with a white trim.
Okay, thanks.
Purple with a white trim. Yeah, I think a totally white neckerchief, we were worried about it might get it might show a little dirt too much. But it'd be a good contrast then with the white hat, and with the white trim around it. At least we think so. Or it might be a little biased. But other questions on any of those items that you can order and purchase? And again, we're trying to keep things as inexpensive for you as possible, but we have a benefactor who wanted to provide the pocket patches and back patch and stuff, and that is coming from a friend of chaplaincy. As you know, the National Jamboree itself, the National Supply is giving very little away. You get your one pocket patch from them for the Jamboree itself. Other questions on any of those things? Okay, very good. So we will have we've lost Paul Gregor. I have not yet filled in that slot for those of you who were serving with him in Delta 2 base camp. But we do have a new addition that is coming on, a Methodist, and we may put him in Paul's slot, we may not, but hopefully we won't have too many more changes. We've already made the swap out for Brenda Hanson Smith, and so they're in C. I think she was in C1, and so we do have her in there covering for that. We now have I don't know if Ravi is on, but we do have a Jewish chaplain now, Ravi Hoffman, and he'll be in C2. That happens to be where the Jewish Shomer Shabbat contingent from New York will be camping, but he's not exclusively a chaplain for them. He'll also be serving, obviously, other units, as all of you will. Scenic, I see that note, and I don't know, let me look and see if I've got you an assignment. Yes, I've got you. Is D4 okay, good for you, Scenic? I think you're muted there, Scenic.
Yeah, that's good for me.
All right, well, you'll be there with Scott Thayer and Brandon Simon and John Partridge. And John, I know, has a lot of good experience. You probably know John.
Yeah,
and
I was at D2 at the World Jamboree.
Very good. Okay, well, we'll have you there in D4. And you get a little extra opportunity there because now this may change, but that subcamp will also have the OA youth staff camping there in addition to contingent troops. That could change, but for right now, I know that's part of the plan there. All right. Any other questions about assignments or who's where, that type of thing? And again, we talked we talked last time about what you do there. And if you were not at our first video call a month ago, 4 weeks ago tonight, I encourage you to go back and it's on the SharePoint site, pull it up and listen to it, where we talked about some of those opportunities and things that you would do, daily activities. Some of you obviously are very familiar with that. In the meantime, since our last call, some of you have had the opportunity to attend the mental first aid health training that Alan had found for us and made available. Are there any on the call who were one of the ones that have taken that and would kind of give us a little testimony about what you thought about it? Would you recommend it? I'm certainly we're going to recommend it to others, but kind of give us some sense of it or what you like best about it. Any volunteers to kind of share any thoughts on that?
I would.
Okay, go ahead, Vern.
Okay, I'm in the middle of it right now. I've completed the online section, and I'll be starting into the manual tomorrow. We need to read and then go to the instructor-led session. I think so far its value has been it's reinforcing concepts I've already learned in some other mental health trainings I've had, and we happen to be doing a mental health class in my church in our Sabbath school hours on Saturdays. So this is all reinforcing each other so far. And that's what I like. It is focusing on the youth, which is good. So that'll help me both at summer camp coming up in June. Yeah, I'm finding I'm finding it a little bit fast paced. So if you sit down and listen to it, you'd be ready for it to move ahead really fast.
Okay.
But so far it's reinforcing a lot of concepts that I've had over the years and some that I've had most recently in some of my community mental health training that I've been taking here in Janesville.
Well, good. Well, thanks for that. Thanks. And again, thanks for the heads up on the pace at which it proceeds. It's interesting to me, as some might call it providential, I don't know, that since we began recommending it back in November and October to this group in some of our earlier communications, since then now, the National Service Center has begun on those unit resources has begun recommending that type of mental health training, not that specific course, but that type of mental health training to all adult Scout leaders. And at the national meeting in Atlanta in late May, the very end of May, there will actually be a breakout session to talk about this very subject and the importance of it and how important and critical it can be. So it's good to know that, or at least on one thing, we're maybe a little bit ahead of the time. At least the rest of it, we'll wait for the rest of the BSA to catch up on that.
And I would add that in discussion and a staff training this weekend, our first aid director at camp has asked me to send him the reference. So he's looking into it. He'll look into it as well for his work that he does at summer camp.
Excellent. Excellent. Very good. All right. I just saw coming on, Greg Simmons has just signed on, and frankly, he is our newest recruit to the chaplaincy team, a Methodist layperson. Greg, were you able to hook in and say hello to us? There you are. I see your picture now. Unmute yourself there, Greg. Alan, you may have to help.
Yeah, Greg.
There we go. There you go, Greg. Tell us where you're from and just give us 20 seconds about yourself.
Perfect. Yes, sir. Thank you. My name is Greg Simmons. I am, like you said, part of the United Methodist Church lay ministry. And I come from Bechtelsville, Pennsylvania, which is kind of halfway between Reading and Allentown, about an hour and a half north of the Philadelphia area. And I am a lifetime Boy Scout, Eagle Scout, Silver Beaver, Wood Badge, and I am in a position for the first time in my life to start enjoying part of the retirement, and that's giving back to scouting through this. So I cannot wait.
Very good. Thank you, Greg. That's great that you could. I think several of us are in that position of now using our retirement years of service to God through this type of ministry, and that is marvelous. That is most of the general remarks and things that I had pre-planned. I wanted to leave a good amount of time for any other questions that have come to mind. We haven't received any, I think, through email that I know of, and I know that Some of you, in fact, David may have to be leaving here just shortly, but are there any other questions that, because we've got a few minutes here, any other questions that we need to address, things that have popped up in your mind, or thoughts or ideas that anyone wanted to share with us, or things for us to consider or look into? It's kind of an open forum time now, so this is your chance.
So being the new
now.
guy, Ted, I will tell you that I'm still waiting. I have to get my headshot to Alan. I did complete my chaplaincy training through the Boy Scouts. I'm signed up with Sharon and the mental first aid training. The one thing, Alan, that I would ask you to help me out with is to get me onto the internal, what is it? The group?
The SharePoint group, yeah.
SharePoint site.
And the best thing I'd say to all of you is if you have gotten the invitation link, tap the link, go as far as you can. If you run into a stumbling block, take a screenshot and send it to me, because then if I can see what you're seeing, I can tell you what to do next. Some of the links are not as intuitive as those of us who are older in the room, which is the vast majority of us who are used to seeing underlined hyperlinks. They don't always use underlined hyperlinks anymore. Sometimes entire paragraphs are the link. And so that makes it a little trickier when you're doing some of this stuff. Also, if any of you are using Microsoft credentials for work or for school or for your church, that might be also causing interference for you as well. And again, I can talk you through on how to do that.
Well, while someone else is while someone else is coming up with a question, and we'll get to that chat note on the side just a second. I want to do a shout out here and a thank you to folks like, we have 2 or 3 others like him, but folks like Joe Black. Some of you see him on your screen there. Joe actually has a different job at the Jamboree. He's got a leadership job in a program area, but he has training in chaplaincy. And he knows, because of having worked in the program area before, that his evening hours are somewhat free and available. And so he is going to help us out in the Alpha Bravo adult camp, the JST, the staff camp, if you want to call it, so that he'll work. So that's why you have him labeled on our charts as an adjunct. And I just appreciate folks like that who say, hey, I've got some time. How can I help? And so, Joe, give us a word. Tell us about yourself. You give us 20 seconds on you, and thank you for being willing to do this.
You bet. Joe Black, Greater Colorado Council, licensed Christian minister, master's in theology, Colson Fellow in Worldviews, National Camp School certified chaplain, on and on and on. National Religious Relations Committee, and currently aide de camp to program adventure chair for this upcoming Jamboree. So I'll have site access with a vehicle to go for some of those emergency type things if available, and probably radio contact, although I think most everyone is referring to cell phone coverage this time around.
Yeah.
So anywhere to serve. Thank you.
Very good. And I guess to that point, and thank you for mentioning that, Joe. And again, thanks for that brief intro there, and again for what you're doing. But in terms of that communication area, you don't expect any radios, but do expect the offering and the expectation to utilize a cell phone application that will be used for messaging. And we will have a group set up in that, so that if there's a message, and you'll be part of a group that will say be a chaplaincy group. And so if there's some information that all of our chaplains need to know about something coming up, about some worship service opportunities, or about some other opportunities, or heaven forbid an incident that we need response to, and there'll be those of you who want to respond to that will know who you are. You'll be designated ahead of time and have a little special training, but it'll pop up on your app. And so anything we need to quickly get out to all the chaplaincy team, boom, it'll pop out to you. And somebody who knows more than I do about that is setting all that up, and they know who our group is. Will be, and so once you sign into that, it'll stay on your phone for while we're at the Jamboree, and give us a way to talk to each other. And then those of you particularly who are in a base camp coordinator role, may have a second leadership group thing where if we have a need to get together to look at some resources, where we need to share some resources or some things like that. And maybe some of you we may ask to be in a second group team about that. And even our emergency response group or for a stress management, incident stress management, there may be a third one, but we're trying to keep it to just 2 for right now. And so as we're there, we want to watch how we use it expeditiously for its purpose, but leverage it to our benefit as we're there. So we will have that type of communication. We also will have, okay, David, see you going, thanks for being with us while you could. We also will have some vehicles available to us. Now, when I say available, we will have the Summit's chaplaincy vehicle available to us. And then we will have a few other vehicles, but they will be those who are willing and want to, and we have the need for in certain areas to have someone who's willing to use their personal vehicle for our role of chaplaincy at the Jamboree. And there'll be you'll get some instructions on it, those who we might ask to do that, about, how it's to be used and credentialing and all that kind of stuff. I just told you more than I know about it, but I just know how they do those things. So we will have some availability, but remember that our camping is now programming has, obviously we have consolidated contingent camping in Charlie and Delta, and program then has been brought closer to Charlie and Delta for that purpose. Is all the movable program. Some things you can't move, the climbing wall, the swimming area, the big zip line, those can't practically move in the shooting sports, barrels range. But those things that can be moved in are being brought much closer into Charlie and Delta. There won't be near as much, near as many places to need to go. But where we need to have some quick response to something, or carry materials, or whatever, or help transport a young person from Jamboree Medical back to his sub camp, or vice versa, with the right type of folks helping, 2 adults, that type of thing. Then or typically it would be a scout and one of his adult leaders. But anyhow, the point is that we will have some resources like that. But as Joe said, he may also have resources if we get short on some. Okay, for those coming the second half, I see that question there. Yes, for what we know, you still will sign in at Ruby. If that changes, we'll certainly make sure that you know that. But the difference from if you've been before, you'll sign in at Ruby, and then instead of driving to the dead parking lot and then taking a 30-minute bus ride to wherever to get you to your sub camp, in this instance, very likely you certainly will be allowed to take your personal vehicle. If you're coming in by personal vehicle or rental vehicle, you will then come to at least as close as the Alpha Bravo base camp, and perhaps have it set up where you would be able to drive to your sub camp, unload your gear, and then take your vehicle back to the Alpha Bravo base camp, the dead parking, I should call it dead park, to the parking area that will be there. And then we would follow you with a transport to bring you back to your sub camp, so we can get you acclimated in there with us just as quickly as we can. Similarly, obviously, everybody is not going to be, hopefully not working 24 hours every day. And within your sub camp, with the 3 or 4 chaplains you'll have in your sub camp, y'all want to say, okay, who's taking the day off? Who's taking the day off? And on that day off, hopefully you'll spend it doing the Jamboree and learning the Jamboree. In some cases, you may first do morning rounds, but even if you then wish to go off site to see about some running the store, so I don't know what for reason you need to go, but for whatever reason you might want to go off site for several hours, or even with the right permissions overnight. The point is, we'll get you to Alpha Bravo parking. You can then drive, go what you need to do, go out, go leave the summit, and go do what you're going to do, and then come on back at your appointed time. And we reverse that back in. If we know when you're coming in, we'll get you a ride back to your sub camp. So we're trying to deal with those logistics, and that's a long answer to the question of, do you sign in at Ruby? And so, yeah, as far as I know, yes, you still sign in at Ruby when you initially get there, even on that second half.
A question on that. At last visitation on this question, there was some indication that we might be not signing in at Ruby, but being given directions by the administration, whoever it's going to be, to go to our subcamp to sign in. So I've heard two different versions.
And so have I. And so I'm trying to give right now, the latest I heard in an operations leadership meeting, I guess it's been 3 weeks ago now, and then they were back to Ruby Center on that. Because
And
all
the transportation email that came out was very specific to say Ruby was the check-in point.
Yeah,
Okay,
because they have all your package of credentials and everything else there. And so
Yeah.
I would expect that. Now, I will be going to the summit with the rest of the operations leadership. I'll be at the summit this coming weekend, and we'll clarify some things about that. But yeah, for the final word on that, look for any updates. If you get an email that says, Jamboree transportation issue or transportation items, info, whatever, that would be the kind of the governing thing that you would see, not what you heard from somebody, whatever else, but what you see in an email from the National Jamboree source email.
Yeah. So the motto
question,
is Semper Gumby, always
Semper
flexible.
Gumby, still there. Yes, always flexible. That's still our motto for all of these things. Absolutely.
Ted, I want to take a moment to share my screen. The directory information that you are in the process of getting to me is going into a database that will feed into a Power App that you'll be able to download onto your smartphone. You'll see a screen similar to this one in the center of my screen I'm sharing. You can scroll through the names. They're alphabetically by last name. They'll give the position. I will have the base camp assignments and subcamp assignments entered in. You'll be able to see the denomination. And if you hit the right arrow key, I'll hit Rich Bowman's for an example. There you'll get to see a little more detailed information, including his bio is down at the bottom of that. But you also see that you've got a push button that you can push to make the phone call. And I don't know what my machine's going to do. I know what my phone does. So let me back up there. Now that I just messed myself up. And there's also a button there for email. So you'll be able to use it to either email someone or to place a phone call directly to someone. This will be kind of a replacement to giving you a hand list for you to lose in your pocket. So smartphones will be able to, any smartphone, whether it's an iPhone or a Android, should be able to operate this app.
And the other great thing about that, and Alan, thank you for doing that. I mean, it's marvelous, the technology and the way we can leverage it. But the other great thing about that is if we have a last minute addition, or hopefully not a last minute loss, but a last minute addition to our team, we don't have to try to reprint a bunch of 50 handbooks or whatever. What we added in, and boom, we've got it. And if we come up with a last minute resource, a resource that might be useful to scouts, to our chaplain aides, or to anyone, or to us, or for something coming up, then we can then upload it into that handbook, and we pop out a note or something that says, or maybe there's an alert you get that we've had an update to the handbook. So if you think of other ways, good ways in which we could use that, that would be useful. Speaking of those resources, I will let you know that and I'm about to hit an old man's disease, but remembering the name, but our Greg Godwin, our summit chaplain, is working to make sure he has put together, and some of you may have helped him with this, a set of daily devotionals. Most of our jamborees have had those in a paper format, a little booklet for chaplain's assistants or whatever, but he's working now to have those also automated, digitized, whatever you do with them, to have those available as a resource, and hopefully find a way to make those also then available through an app for every participant at the Jamboree. But certainly then that would also be available to us, and something that they would then leave on late afterwards at the summit archives or access via the internet. But basically to be able to, for future participants at the summit and high adventure programs, and to also have access to those those types of devotional resources. And those, I believe he is trying, those are being set up by different faith groups. Certainly one, but a set of interfaith ones also. Oh yeah. So Alan tells us here we got the full devotion prayers from 4 years ago, and Alan, those may be the ones he's loading up. I don't know.
Yeah, I'll have to check with Greg because actually Thomas Andrew was with us as a part of the chaplaincy team as a student, and as a part of his student work wrote a set of devotions for us to be able to use, and they're based on
Very good.
Each of the 12 points of the Scout Law and the 3 points of the Scout Oath to be able to cover the whole Jamboree period plus travel time. So I'll make sure it has those.
So if I had the old-fashioned paper copy, I could get Thomas to autograph it for me. Thomas would have to figure out how you do a digital autograph on my copy. All right. What else? What else does somebody have? I don't want to keep you longer than we need to. One of the things that Greg and I will be doing is, as soon as he sends out the links for purchasing our patches, or extra patches and neckerchiefs later this week, is also find out if we've got anybody. Obviously, we don't have the full group on here tonight. We didn't have the full group 4 weeks ago, and we will never have the full group. We knew, or 2 or 3 of them are who knew couldn't. But there are some that we're going to do a confirmation to make sure they've gotten all the material, know that we're doing this, know where to go back and see the recording of what we've done tonight and 4 weeks ago, and to say, frankly, to ask them, why haven't you been joining us? Is it a scheduling issue? Is it something else? If it is a scheduling issue, we may very well consider, do we now need to do the next one of these at a different time other than on a Sunday evening? Is there a time when we now can pick up another segment? Hopefully we still get everybody that can. It won't replace what you've already heard here, because the new questions will develop and information will come out. But point is, there may be the opportunity for us to consider a different time and a date during the month, or time when we would do this again, to kind of make it, if it's a time that can be more convenient for some others, or those who just haven't been able to do this because of schedule. So look for that, look for a notice on that. But in any other regard, you will see some type of notice come out probably from Alan that would say, okay, here's our next planned one. It'd probably be about 4 weeks from now. We probably won't get them more frequent than that, because with summer camps coming and things like that, you're going to be busy also. But certainly then we looking at some other opportunities about additional, if there's some other training that we need to do and do online ahead of time, and those we would do multiple offerings of those. You heard the reference that someone made a moment ago to having gone online and done the chaplaincy training online. I trust that you have all done that. And if it was like me, if it's 3 or 4 years ago, I'm going to go back. I want to do it again. I'm going to do the chaplain's aid training again. Haven't been a lot of changes, but I need a refresher. And so I will do that. Speaking of training or any of those types of things, Jeff Thompson, you have any other comments for us on other things that on additional training resources or other things we need to be thinking about? I know you're going to have something planned for us when we all get there. We'll gather together as a chaplaincy team and have some little on-site stuff also.
We're going to try to do some connections between medical and mental health, so that we have a good feeling towards each, who we are and how we work together, and instead of doing siloed. And I really think, you mentioned critical incident stress management. That's a major investment in your time and money to do that course. But you probably can pick up some things just through the National Incident Command System or something to understand a little bit more. Hopefully we will not need that, and we will have plenty of people there that are trained for that. But that'd be the only other thing, because I think mental health first aid is really good. And I'm excited that we have that as a resource this time, because it's a very good course. And I think we'll all be able to use the same type of language, which will be good.
That will be excellent. Yes. And I have sent in my note to Sharon to see if she can sign me up for the course that starts next week. I just hadn't heard back yet. It hadn't been long since I sent it to see if I'll join a couple of you others that mentioned you'll be in this upcoming course. Jeff mentioned the connection between us and medical, mental health, particularly medical mental health and listening ear. We talked about some of our last call. I'm not going to rehash that right now. If you were not on our call 4 weeks ago, please go to the SharePoint site, pull up the recording, and you can zip ahead and just listen to just that piece of it if you'd like. Or, well, if you didn't make it, I think the whole thing would be useful, but I'm biased. Yeah, look at that and see. They are still searching resource. They are not going to have the staffing they had wanted to have, which reminds me to say thank you, because we are, except for a couple folks that we've lost, we're it's not that we couldn't use 2 or 3 more, but we are adequately staffed. We're not abundantly staffed, but we think are adequately staffed for the size Jamboree with which we're dealing. But and they will soon, I think in 3 weeks, cut off registrations for any additional staff, because at some point they have to say, okay, that's it. Now we process everything. But if you happen to know of another good resource, and particularly someone younger than most of us, I still would love to have a couple more seminarians, or that type of those, someone studying for vocational ministry. I think would just be an excellent addition, because it's be a wonderful experience, real-time experience for them in doing this, and they might help us relate to some of the younger folks. Okay, anything else before we say good night for the evening or for the month or whenever till we get it back together again? All right, then. Well, look for that email to come out later this week on these items, and we'll keep you posted. In the meantime, any questions that pop up or whatever, if they're unique to using our SharePoint stuff, obviously send them to Alan. He'll be more used to that than I will. But any general questions, please feel free to send them to me. Hopefully y'all have my email address now. If not, Alan just showed you how to quickly find it in our resource guide. So with that, again, thank you for joining us tonight. Thank you in advance for the commitment you've made to this and for the lives that you're going to impact as we serve at the Jamboree and Chaplaincy. So with that, we'll adjourn for the evening. Thanks again so much.